Hello everyone and welcome to the December monthly update as well as the year in review for Metro Inc. I'm the CEO, Derek Boyd, and this is...
I'm the president and secretary of Metro, Vladimir. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to give you guys a very short December update because honestly, we didn't do anything. Because not our problem. The second it hits Christmas time, not our problem. You right. Figure it out. So one of the things that we did have to do is that, I don't know if we mentioned it in the last video, but we've been having a lot of issues with our trash pickup refusing to pick up the garbage in the mobile home park because of like a pothole in the driveway. Yeah. Towards the lower section. So we did actually end up going on ahead and graveling out the two sections of the mobile home park that we felt were a problem, specifically the main one where it did have like a bit of a dip and whatnot. As you guys will see here, obviously it's got fresh coat of gravel on it, and now we just wait for the rain to kind of like settle it in more and also spread it out some more as well. That's pretty much all we actually did at the mobile home park outside of evictions.
Yeah, we did file an eviction because if you remember, we had two tenants who hadn't paid last month. Well, one did pay, so the two tenants, to remind you, was the one at 108 and the other one that was at 124. Well, 108 did pay, which is good because they were the big heftier payment. So they paid the full amount that they owed plus their late fees. That was $880. And then the people over at 124, they have not paid. And in fact, if you remember, we've kind of had problems in general with them making payments. We initially were going to get them in, and they were going to do kind of like a like we did with 104, where they have a bit of a contractor agreement where they got a cheaper rental rate so they could work on the home. So we didn't have to pay for repairs and maintenance. And they were supposed to pay $425 a month, plus they would do the repairs on their own cost. Well, they never paid the initial $425. We initially reduced it because they needed a fridge and a stove and some other stuff. So we knocked it down to $50. They did pay that. And then the next month they were required to pay the $425. They never paid that $425. If I remember correctly, they came in October. And so November they didn't pay $425, and then now they didn't pay $425 for December. So we filed the eviction for the full amount of the $425 for November and December. And I did get a call actually this morning. I forgot to mention this to you. I did get a call this morning that that eviction does run out on the 7th of January, and we can file for a writ of ejectment on the 10th of January.
Okay.
So
apparently in Anderson County, they...
not Anderson County, specifically Belton.
I'm sorry, specifically Belton City apparently wants to have a soft spot during the holidays, and they will not do eviction hearings during the holiday season.
Yeah, like literally post-Thanksgiving, no evictions are done whatsoever because they don't want to do two things. They don't want to kick people out for, religious reasons in case it's like Christmas and whatnot. And the second one, they don't want to kick people out for like cold weather and everything like that.
Absolutely insane and absolutely baffling to me because, again, while I understand the general principle, that's a good way for us to never want to invest in that area again. Or now, as soon as it's coming up in November, if you're even a day late, file the eviction and then go from there. That's what that incentivizes you to do.
All it really does is basically just want us to rush evictions ahead of time, which is ridiculous.
Unfortunately, that tells us now that if we ever have issues with payments in November, don't delay, don't wait, file it right then and there. And then just let it run its course and get a new person in December, because then you don't have to worry about them not paying because they have to pay to get in, and now you could just write it out from there. So last thing, just a slight update on the mortgage issue with the 12th mobile home and kind of how that's been resolved. So Derek, I'll let you take over that since it's more on the finance side.
Yeah, so if you remember, the previous arrangement is that I'll just briefly run through the whole thing. We were buying the mobile home park under the condition that we got a 12th one in. The 12th one was taking a while, but specifically the amount of money that we had to deal with was the move-in costs and setup, because the previous owner was going to foot that bill. We effectively wrapped in the cost of the mobile home to the back end of the loan. So anyhow, so it came time that the mobile home got moved in. Well, he didn't pay up front for it. We obviously did, and we haven't to get reimbursed by doing a reduction of mortgage payments. So last month we paid $3,000. We pay $1,953 roughly every single month. So that means that last month we didn't pay a mortgage payment because we had already paid the $3,000 up front. And then this month we also have, in addition to that, an invoice that we passed over to him for $1,850 to get the rest of this installation done, which would be the water hookup, electric hookup, septic, some stairs on the front, underpinning and underskirting and vapor barrier. The basic stuff that needs to be done in order for us to get approved by the county to get the utilities turned back on. And so that's an $18.50 that we're gonna have our maintenance guy do. He did give us that invoice, and so with that, we're adding that to the other bill plus another $500 cost we had dealing with the moving company. So overall, we're like, what, 5,300 or some change or whatever.
Yeah.
Almost the cost of the mobile home, honestly. So we're like 5,300 and some change, which means we didn't pay the we didn't pay the mortgage this month, and then next month the remaining balance will be like $900 or some change. You can do the math, and then just figure out what the difference is. But that's it. So we don't have to actually pay for last month, this month, even though we are technically paying.
I was gonna say we are paying. It's just being done in a roundabout way. It's getting reimbursed. Exactly. We'll put it that way.
And so overall, we finally got the 12th mobile done, and so now really as far as everything's going in terms of the finishing up of the contract of buying the mobile home park, there's only two things left, which is to get two titles put in our name: the mobile home that got moved in and the one we mentioned last month that randomly popped up for an auction. Those are the only two things we got to get left done, and we are 100% finally resolved in terms of settling with the property sale, and we just have to perform, aka just pay the mortgage, and it's smooth sailing from here.
Yep. So that's pretty much all. That is pretty much done. So outside of that, there's no more updates for December. We've covered pretty much everything we did because, again, not dealing with it. November was way busier than it ever should have been.
Yeah.
So December we just said no. That was the classical answer to almost everything. It was just no. Yeah. Like you can wait till next year. However, now we're getting into the year in review. So what we're going to do here in this year in review is that we're actually going to give you guys a brief summary to catch you all back up to where we are at this point. So think of it as like a point A to point C plus like system. So to start off, if you guys remember, the most grueling part was setting this thing up. When you decide to do a corporation, you have to learn a lot about the laws, the bylaws, how to place it all together, where you're filing, why you're filing the way that you're doing. You have to hire yourself. You have to have board meetings. You have to have meeting minutes recorded and so on and so forth. And then make sure that you're compliant with the Federal Trade Commission as well. There's quite a few things that you got to sit there and you got to do to get yourself set up as a C Corp just to begin with. So once you get done with all that lovely stuff and spend about $5,000 if you do it on your you can then move on to step 2, which is debt. So luckily for us, we already knew how to acquire debt and how to get it. If you guys remember, we took out a couple of different things. We invested in ourselves, as well as we sat there and we had one other group of investors sit there and invest into us as well from like previous contacts or whatever else. Once we got all that put together, we knew that we had roughly, I think it was like what, 45 or 50,000 to work with.
No, we didn't have close to that. When we started the year, we had 16,500.
Never mind. Yep. So we had about 16,500 to sit there and work with, and then we had to come up with pretty much everything else from there.
The 40 you're thinking of is part of the budget, which I'll explain in a minute.
Yeah. So that was us acquiring debt. As soon as you get everything set up and you're official, get debt, get something rolling, and start acquiring some kind of assets. We also, obviously, as you guys remember, we put Barnwell into the company for about $5,000. We also went on ahead and we bought another property called Jonesville, and then we ended up buying the mobile home park, which we just never had the money to do and still did it anyway. So that's how we ended up in acquisition. So like I said, step 1, setup. Step 2, debt. Step 3, acquisitions. Sounds all great. We got this mobile home park. We got these properties. We got them rented. We got money coming in off of them. That means that you guys are in the profit. No. You are missing step 4, which is struggle and more debt. Yeah. That's actually what you do. So once you get all this and you figure out how negative and how bad you are, if you guys remember, we turned around and we literally had to over borrow from our future. We are still technically paying back our future borrowing. We are nowhere near we needed to be. We had to go out there and do manual work and manual labor ourselves. We had to go out there and put down an iron fist to clean up the mobile home park, get all the drugs taken care of, get everything situated and pretty much set it up the way that it needed to be. And then we were also going out there doing the cleaning as well as helping our maintenance guy get things set up so we can recuperate as much money as quickly as possible.
Correct.
While pulling off of more debt by paying things with credit cards or whatever else to delay the amount of payments that we need to make to spread it out more evenly so we can just keep our head above the water for $100 a month at best. And then we get to this day, which is future projections, and profit. Again, that is probably where you finally truly see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to do two things here. I'm going to let Derek go over the entire budget for the whole year. So get out pen and paper, because I'm probably not going to write all these numbers down. And then what we're going to do to wrap it up is both him and I actually want to share our favorite part of the year, or things that we remember. So it becomes more of a general discussion from there. I just wanted to remind you guys all the steps that have gone through in just one set of 1 year, and it's been continuous work throughout. So Derek, if you want to go ahead and take over.
Yeah,
this is your bread and butter.
To remind everybody, this was exactly our first year of business. We literally started, I think, January 11th or 14th or something like that. And so it has been almost to the T exactly 1 year. And it is almost guaranteed that your first year of business, you're going to be negative. And
yes,
we were quite in the negative. And we were understandable. We were expecting this to happen to an extent.
I didn't expect this much.
Yeah, let me clarify. Once again, we never expected to get into the mobile home park. We expected to just get into more multiple owner finance properties, which means we still would have had a negative at the end of the year, because we would have just basically taken every dollar we've gotten from one property, invested into another, which would have been a negative because we bought out into another home, and then build up some funds, buy into another, build up funds, buy up into... Keep rinsing and repeating like a domino, working its way down. Thing is that our negative amount would have been significantly smaller than this, because obviously we're paying for full-on repairs and maintenance, and then of course the acquisition, in which Vlad already alluded to, we just didn't have the money for, and at least at the time, and so we had to literally play catch up for 6+ months. So with that being said, let's go ahead and knock this out. So I got it about as accurate as I could get. I had to go back and kind of redo all the numbers. One particular area is a bit of a cluster, and that's May and June. There's a bit of a mix-up of exactly what bills are where. But overall, everything's pretty much organized, so this is exactly what we're going to have to file for taxes. So anyways, with that being said, January we had zero revenue because we had no assets. We were just negative at straight up $4,735, because that was the startup cost, as well as that failed investment, if you remember the $2,500 that we had gotten when we were trying to get another loan out of it, and it just wound up turning into a poor loan in general. And so we lost that out the gate. Then we had in February, similar thing, nothing really happened. If you remember, really in February, all it was we were just transitioning out from January of all paperwork to the leftover business setup stuff, which was like finishing out the website, getting the voice over IP set up and done, as well as getting the whole debacle of T-Mobile and that shit show taken care of.
Derek pretty much started focusing more on the business side once we got everything agreed upon, how we wanted to structure it. I spent 3 months still finishing the setup and putting it all together. That's how we just split up the workload to make it easier.
Pretty much. And so we didn't really spend anything. And then in March, really all we spent was gas, because that was when we started doing some traveling. So really only spent about 100 and we spent
oh, was that also the swamp home back in March?
Yes, yeah, somewhere around that time.
Oh man,
yeah. All the traveling was mostly March, because we got Jonesville the next month. Because we got the Jonesville contract in March or February, somewhere around there. So anyhow, so we spent about $455 in February, and then we spent, I didn't add them together for some reason, but $175 and $155 in March, and then April is when stuff starts changing around. One, we start getting our first amount of income, as well as our first heavy loss, which was we bought Jonesville property, and we also got in a down payment in that same month, as well as we also got, remember the Calvin Falls property prior to in March, we had transitioned it into our company, and we wound up getting 2 partial payments, one from buyer's remorse and one for like earnest money. And so in total, we actually wound up getting $4,100 in that month. $3,000 was the down payment from Jonesville, the initial down payment. I mean, they gave us 2. And then we wound up buying buying Jonesville, as well as all the other debts that we had. So in April, we were negative $11,630. So that was when we really started going downhill. Because remember, we had about $16,500, even with the $4,000 in there. With the negative 11,000, we're still going down to about $5,000. And then what's crazy about that is roughly the next month and a half or so, we had to come up with a full 30 almost to close on the mobile home park, which by the grace of God we did. So anyhow, with that being said, so this is where May and June comes in. Like I said, it's a bit of a cluster. All those numbers kind of weed in together, just because of the fact the mobile home park was originally supposed to close in May, and it wound up getting delayed until June 1st. And so all of our budget was based around the closing of that park, and then all the numbers just got mixed in together, especially with the tenants getting transferred in and the back payments and all that stuff. So anyhow, we wound up getting $4,536. This was partial payments for the first month of the mobile home park, from the back rents of May as well as early parts of June. And then we wound up also buying the mobile home park, and we were negative $29,566.82, not including the $3,900 we had to pay for buying the LLC and transferring the actual technical owner into our names. And so you add that in there as well. I don't know what the negative was on that on top of my head, but I had the total negatives at the bottom. Then in July, from that point forward, it was actually us basically just maintaining the mobile home park and doing all the adjustments, acquisitions, like in terms of getting 118 up and running. So we had to pay for that. We tore down 138. And so we started doing the actual changes to the mobile home park, as well as lawn care, taking care of figuring out the water and all that stuff. Dealing with the tarps and things. So anyhow, then we started bringing in July. That's when we actually have a consistent amount of revenue. So in July, we brought $4,055 in, but we spent out $7,600. This is also, if I remember correctly, July. Yeah, this was the very first payment we had of the loan that we had gotten for the friends and family, the $15,000 and some change that we borrowed, and we had to start paying them back on that 6-month plan. So that's why the expenses are significantly higher than they would normally be if it was just a park. So that's all included in here, as well as this doesn't even include the first mortgage. Actually, this is technically, well, maybe it does. I have to remember what I did, but yeah, actually it would include the mortgage. So this includes, oh, that's right, it doesn't include the water bill. So this is the mortgage, the teardown / startup building costs of the one mobile home, the 118, and then the loan payment, whatever you want to call it.
And remember too, the other thing that we did to try to help ease our suffering here, we wanted to be fair, so we grandfathered all the previous tenants in, but remember, we sat there and we charged them for the month prior because we knew that none of them had sat there and had paid. So that way we could recover it, but we only charged them half of the amount that they were supposed to have paid anyway while we grandfathered in the rest.
Exactly.
So unfortunately, as you guys know, in the end, only about, 7 of them actually ended up paying that amount before they got thrown out or kicked out, or no, it was less than that. It was 6.
We have I think it was because we have one guy who still has 2 partial payments on top of his building.
Yeah,
he pays back, and I think we've only received it because we kicked a couple people out. I think we only received it from 4 people.
Yeah, so we only received it from
maybe
4, unfortunately. So that definitely did hinder us as well. Which, again, I'll just be honest. Look, you're gonna make mistakes, because we're talking about getting into the mobile home park here, and we knew we were over leveraging ourselves, which means we were borrowing more than we were possibly bringing in at the time. You're gonna make mistakes, and unfortunately, we did not expect a $7,000 mistake.
Well, I will say one thing that definitely helped us out. If you remember at that time, one thing that was actually really beneficial and screwed up was, remember, the attorney actually made a mistake on crediting us for that entire month of June as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd gotten the full credit of May and the full credit of June. So our actual closing cost was $26,000 or $25,000 or something like that, when it normally would have been $28,000. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, if you remember, prior to us closing on the mobile home park, all the numbers that we had on file for the rent rolls was around $300 to $350, and we were like, no, we're not doing that. So we went and re-signed all new agreements prior to us closing, under the promise that we would close. We put them all to the $425 rate and the one at $455, and we supplied that to the attorney, and he prorated on that number. So we actually saved ourselves an extra $2,500. Yeah. So it was actually pretty funny how that worked out. But it still hurt like hell paying the $7,000 something dollars. So anyhow, so from that
could have been worse. Is what he's saying.
So then going from there, August was the rough month. That was, if you remember, the month that we had to physically go out there and work and get 118 up and running.
I've memory wiped when that happened. I remember doing it. I never want to do it again.
Yeah, so that one sucked. So anyhow, that's why the budget's lower, because we didn't have as much money. We paid more out of debt. So we had $3,775 plus $325 because we got a half payment from those people that moved in. We were arguing with them, and then they wound up moving out 2 weeks later. And then we paid out $5,664, So we were a grand total of negative 1,564 on August. September, we brought in 4,825 because that's our first full month of 118. So now we finally have an additional house or mobile producing, so our budget's growing. And then that month, our debts, this is before we got our very first water bill, so it was still relatively low, was $5,814.93. So we were a grand total of negative $989.93. Then October came, and this is when we got our first water bill. So we brought in $5,355. The reason why it's going up is, if you remember, not only did we kick out the people at 124 by this point, we got new people at 124, but also we kicked out the people at 104 and the people at 108. 104 was now producing at 425, and 108 was at that credited amount of 500, so it was like an extra $50 there too. And so that's when the budget started going up, and now it's even higher coming from that. So if you notice, we started around $3,000 from the mobile home park, and we're getting closer to $5,500, and you'll see we literally have scaled it up already. It's drastically growing. We've almost doubled the income of the park in 6-7 months.
Yeah, we still haven't had this park for a full year, by the way.
Yeah, it's literally been 6 months this month. It's crazy how quick we've turned this thing around. So anyhow, with that being said, we brought in October $5,355. We spent $7,453.77 because we had a $1,200 water bill. So we were negative $2,089.77. And then November was the big one. This is when we finally paid off the loan, the friends and family loan, which was really the biggest bill we had because it's $2,600. It's half our entire income. So we brought in $5,645 because that's when what's his name, the 108 started having to pay extra. The credit reduced. So now we have $5,645 coming in, and with that we paid out $7,023, and a grand total loss on that one is $1,378. And then finally in December we brought in $5,535, and we only paid out $2,987.17, which means we brought in a grand total, a positive $2,547.83.
IRS.
It's pretty crazy because that actually is almost the full mobile home property tax bill. In fact, it's crazy because just what we have here, and then if we maintain the same amount going into next month as well, we actually are able to pay the full amount of the property tax bill literally last minute. It's insane how we won't have to pay out of pocket for the property taxes when we were factoring that out 8 months ago before we even closed in the park.
What's also, so with him going
wait, let me finish real quick. So the total in general, grand total of all of this, I mean, this is the creme de la creme, all the crap and everything on top of it. So we brought in a grand total, which is the first year, so it's actually very impressive numbers, especially considering how broke we were. So we brought in $41,151. Nice. You know, that's an average person's salary. Like if you're a cop or something, that's like your whole salary for the year. It's great. However, the debt is disgusting. So we brought in, once again, $41,000 and some change. Our total expenses, grand total, everything, right? $91,260.58.
90,000.
So in total, our expenses was exactly negative $50,109.58. Remember how we brought in a cop's salary? Well, we lost the whole, I don't know, McDonald's manager.
51, yeah, so we got $50,000 is basically what the negative deficit of this company is. But you have to understand, this is spread out across a multitude of different things, such as credit cards and obviously like potential property taxes that we have coming up and so on and so forth. It's spread all over the place. The good news is, because we are so negative, that means we're tax-free, baby. We ain't got shit. So at least we got
pay on nothing.
Yeah, you can't pay on nothing. So at least we got that going for us. But the thing is that it is kind of sad because I was hoping, and it is what it is, I was genuinely hoping that we'd be able to make this company profitable, kind of like the same time him and I did some kind of a partnership together, and we were able to make it profitable at the end of the year, but it's not the end of the world.
I mean, we are profitable at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Our grand total is negative.
Yeah, our grand total.
Yeah, we're profitable at the end of the year. We're fine. It's just...
But the thing
That's
is
total
that
nuts.
it'll sit there and it'll level itself out, and as we keep scaling and we keep acquiring more, because a lot of people will look at this figure and they kind of want to be scared and turn tail. Now I'm telling you right now, I'll take more debt. We're actually finally in a position where I feel comfortable. Go ahead and grab more debt, put it into something else, keep scaling it and keep rolling it. As an investor, you're going to spend your life in debt. You're going to die with debt. You're going to live with debt. You're going to love debt. Debt is what you function with. It's the most important thing. So don't fear too much on that.
And to add on to this, like, let's look at it this way. This is the saddest part about this, right? So yeah, we paid about 50 grand up front, right? Give or take in the first year. As it sits right now, we don't have any additional debts that pop up at all, other than just like random maintenance, which we've already kind of factored in. Which means that if we maintain, you know, because obviously Jonesville will sell at some point, so we'll count in falls. Just say we maintain about $2,000 a month, right? That is forever income.
Yeah.
Because we've already factored in the maintenance into this. That is literally forever income. That means from now to the day we die, and actually it goes up because we pay off the mortgage at some point, because we're already halfway through the first year, which means we have 9.5 years left. So that means that we'll get an additional $2,000 if we just don't do anything. Meaning that as it sits right now, we paid $50,000 basically up front in the first year to forever receive $2,000 till the day we die, and then eventually $4,000.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Ridiculous.
And that's how you want to sit there, and that's exactly how you want to look at it. Now, unfortunately, just it is the sad truth of it. Like, him and I aren't going to see this money until probably middle of next year. That's when we'll finally see something, and then we'll consider doing something with it, maybe giving ourselves like a break or whatever else. But either way, you have to understand. You really need to take it in perspective of what Derek is saying. We could sit on our ass doing nothing for the next 30 years. And him and I have secured, what is it, 2,000 each or more?
So it'd be 1,000 till 9.5 years from now, then be 2,000 each.
Yeah. So we live off for the rest of our life, for the next 30 years, we live off of 1,000 for about the next 9.5 years, and then we live off of 2,000. That's better than this one investment, this one struggle of a year that we've gone through is better than what we have literally...
And actually, that's assuming everything stays the same, which we both know won't
Oh,
happen.
God, no.
Rents will go up, and we don't even have 122 rented, 124 is not paying, 108's behind a month, and I haven't gotten a payment
But
for
I'm using
138.
the example of nothing. We just stop.
That's what we're saying. We're literally limiting the hell out of that statement.
Yes.
We're ball and chaining ourselves to underperform, and we still have a retirement package.
Like, again, that's better than people's Social Security. 2,000 each. If him and I just want to throw in the hat and be like, you ready to retire? Yep. Doctor, walk away. The people have to struggle and work, either being attorneys, either being doctors, either being some kind of engineer, to get anywhere near to that. And in 1 year, we've already accomplished it. That is the power of investing. Like, you really got to understand it. It sucks because you don't see it right away. But if you can see the future of it, it comes back to you in tenfold. But that's all I have to say on that. Do you have anything else you want to add to it? Or
No, not really. Outside of that, you wanted to talk about like your favorite
Yes.
moments.
So I actually want to talk about favorite moments of this year. So I personally have two. There's I like doing this as well. Every year, if you're running a business, every year, give yourself some time in December, really reflect on everything you have done. Because if you're constantly in a business mindset, you're pushing yourself probably harder than anybody else will, and you're criticizing yourself harder than anybody else possibly could. Give yourself this break. Give yourself some time to really look at it and be like, damn, I did phenomenal. I did great. Maybe look at your mistakes and be like, okay, I could have done this better. I'll know this in the future, and so on and so forth. It's always good to reflect and then project into the future and continue moving forward from there. I have two favorite moments though. As much as I bitch, moaned, and hated it, I am actually incredibly proud of myself of figuring out how to set up a C Corp. From the bylaws, to the minutes meetings, to everything in between, to how we need to sit there and how we can go about filing it. Obviously, a lot of that was done on your side with the finances, and that's how that decision was reached. And then just creating it across the board, getting all the paperwork together, getting set up, and then also doing the transactional deal of us buying the mobile home park from by buying the LLC and all its assets to transfer it over to us, and so on on and so forth. I was very proud of that, along with the website as well, because as much as I hate building websites, it's incredible that I had to build 4 websites now, and every single one of them has functioned professionally and very well from there.
Wait, it's 3, right? No, it's 3 or 4, somewhere on there.
The first one was my test site where I messed around and I
I
accidentally got it functional.
Yeah,
and,
if you're talking about that one, that's 4, but you definitely built 3 full-on websites and then a test one.
Oh, and then my other favorite moment of this year is, I know it's going to sound dumb because when you look at our videos and you listen to everything, all you hear is the moment we buy the mobile home park, fucking hell got unleashed on us, and we were just drudging in. You can watch our videos. Derek actually did this, and he was literally showing, here's the moment we bought it, and then you just see both him and I at different intervals plummeting into insanity.
It's like literally watching a period of a man's descent into madness kind of thing. Like, you're literally seeing like April, well trimmed, cut, nice, organized look or whatever.
Yes.
First month in, we're both like dark circles under our eyes, beards halfway out here, hair sideways. Next month, beards down to here. He's over here like chopping his beard off sideways.
In one of the videos, I didn't realize how bad it was. Whenever I had downtime and like him and I were talking and we were trying to figure out what to do, I was having this bad habit of plucking my beard hairs on this, like this literally is what I was sitting there, what I was doing, and I would end up like pulling them off. So you have like a section of my beard that's just gone.
Dude, you can literally see it. Like his beard is just like, let's see, like on here, just all of this section not existent.
Yep. It's a nervous tick of mine. I don't know what it is, but yeah. And then obviously he started cleaning up. I went even further, so I started growing even more. And then finally, as you can see now, we kind of both settled out, and it's definitely well due. But I will say, the fact that we didn't have enough money, just purchased another property, had to scramble to make this deal happen, had to intentionally delay while intentionally push to get it all to go through, that was good. It was a challenge that we were able to meet. Everything afterwards didn't necessarily matter, because if we could meet the acquisition of it, we'd figure out the rest one way or another. Even if that meant having to default. That's always an option, unfortunately, because you can always go back and make it right later on. But whatever we had to do, like, we could handle the rest from there. But getting it, yeah, that was the pinnacle for this year for me. It was creating everything and figuring everything out with how to set up our company legally, putting everything together for the website, and then the acquisition. That was the pinnacle. From there, it was fucking downhill.
Oh, yeah.
I have nothing positive to really say about the rest of it, outside of right here and now, finally seeing a profitable month.
Yeah, I would say, kind of piggyback off what you've already talked about, I really only have one moment that I liked. I hate paperwork, so the whole first 2 months was disgusting. Oh, I literally was contemplating like suicide. I hate ungodly amounts of paper. I hate legal. I hate law in general. So that means contract law as well as state laws. I hate paperwork. And that whole bylaw section, when we spent 4 straight days, like 18-hour days, writing that stupid bylaw and then reviewing it.
Yeah, taking pieces from Google, from Apple, from all these other major
I remember getting no sleep, and then when I did, I was dreaming about bylaws. I was going nuts. All I remember was seeing paperwork. I couldn't focus. It sucked. I hated it. That was the worst part. I'd rather go back to August when we had to physically do manual labor and rewire the house than go back and do paperwork for January. Never again. That was disgusting to me. So anyways, back to the point. To piggyback off of what you were saying, my personal favorite was specifically in how we did the acquisition of the mobile home park, because it's not so much the legal aspect of it, like you're talking about, like getting it into a corporation as well as buying out the LLC and securing it that way. My thing was specifically on how we were able to convince this guy, which to this day I think he's an idiot, but a deal's a deal, how he sold a profit-producing mobile home park, an income-producing asset, owner-financed, less than the amount of money that it brings in, and literally is willing to fork out more money in terms of like getting the 12th mobile home put in there, as well as paying for things like back taxes and a couple other issues. And the guy literally was like, "Dad, this is a good deal."
You know what's funny? Because of all the issues we've been running into on this mobile home park, I 100% understand why no investor was willing to pay cash for it. Like we talked about in our previous video, there was no way. But the funny thing is, to continue on Derek's line of thought, understand, it wouldn't have taken much.
Mm-hmm.
20,000 at most to get that entire thing squared away, get all the taxes taken care of, get the place re-graveled, get everything properly filed, get everything put together. And then the funniest thing is, we're owner financing this thing for a grand total of 202,000.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Is what we're in grand total owner financing it for. If he just would have put that 20,000 in, he could have easily sold it for 350. Easy. In
fact,
the cap rate would have still been there.
In fact, I didn't do the net worth. I keep putting it off, and I was gonna do the what our net worth of our company is this year. But I'll just give you a brief example of how stupid this is. A simple way of understanding the net worth of an asset, especially an income-producing asset, it's very simple, right? Mm-hmm. All you do is you get whatever that asset is producing, especially if it's a rental, because it's very simple. You don't have to worry about loss of value like with an owner finance house, where it just eventually caps out and it sells. But with a rental, it just stays that way or goes higher or whatever. So all you do is you just get the income that it produces minus out the debts, and then you times that by whatever the reasonable return is. So for example, that's what cap rate is. So if you expect to get paid back in 10 years, that's a 10% cap rate. You know, if you expect to get paid back in like 12 years, like 8.5%, whatever. Typically for a mobile home park, in our area at least, it could be a little different in some areas, it's usually anywhere between 7 and 10. The vast majority, because people are greedy, it's lowered around 7.5, 7.8, somewhere around there. So I always do around 8.5 because that means we can do a quick sale and back out. So if you did 8.5% return, so about a 12-year return on what we have, our mobile home park is valued at like $450,000, which is disgusting. Like that means the equitable amount that we have in the mobile home park. If we were to borrow against it or refinance the whole thing, loan to value, if we got 70% of that, would be like 300 and some change, which means that we would be able to refinance the whole thing, buy out the current owner, still have $100 and something thousand to do whatever we want with, put it back into the mobile home park or dump it into the property, which is exactly what we plan to do going into, maybe not next year, because usually you need about 2 years of income.
Yeah, we have to be able to show, obviously, it's kind of, it makes sense, but it's also kind of dumb. We basically have to be able to show that we can manage it.
Yeah, especially like consistently.
Yeah.
Like not we've had like a one-off good year. So anyway, so that's just the crazy stuff you can do. It's like, not only is it just dumb that if we just sit on it, we've already secured our retirement for the rest of our lives, as long as we maintain, which isn't that hard to do.
No.
Especially considering how bad the condition already was. We've literally just skyrocketed the value of some of those places. So there's not only that, but it's the fact that we can literally borrow against it, double, triple, and quadruple our entire returns, as well as our retirement in like literally less than 2 years.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. So backing it all back up, my favorite thing to kind of get back to the point of it is specifically the fact that we got it on an owner finance agreement. It's on already a very cheap amount total, being the principal value of it, like you said, about $202,000.
Yes.
So the fact that it was already basically undervalued and being loaned to us via finance, and the fact that the actual loan amount, like I guess I should say the income to debt, so how much we're paying out monthly, is now roughly less than half, including all the utilities and everything, including maintenance, less than half of what we actually bring in from the park. And of course we've doubled the income almost. Like I said, we started around 3 and now we're around almost 5.5 and some change. If everybody paid, we'd actually be at 6. So we have technically doubled our income on it. Sure, that's great and all, but it's still crazy to me that in less than 6 months, we've already secured ourselves as long as we just pay the debt. In fact, if we really wanted to, we could expedite that money, right? We could take the $2,000 and pay an extra $2,000 and pay it off in half the time. So instead of being 9.5 years, it'd be paid off in, just under 5 years?
Yeah,
about 4 years,
about
4 and 3/4. So it's just insane to me that we've already secured that position and we just started the company and we didn't do anything out of the ordinary.
I will say this was definitely
all we ever do is under finance.
This was definitely a very lucky find, and a lot of things
extremely lucky.
Put it together. Don't think that every single deal is going to go like this by any means, but there was a reason we were willing to put up with the suffering for as long as we did, because the future value was there. And it's funny because, Derek and I talk about this a lot, and we probably mentioned this a lot on this channel as well. Don't look at something for just the face value of what it is. understand, something is worth whatever somebody is willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it may look like a dump to you, but that doesn't mean that it has zero value. And I feel like a lot of people, because I guarantee you a lot of people, when mobile home parks go up for sale, multiple investors are usually going. There's usually bidding wars on it. A lot of things happen. This mobile home park was up for months.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not getting good, steady deals. The realtor, I think we talked about the realtor.
No, because that was all last year's stuff.
Yeah.
So.
We'll just say the realtor is absolute shit. And the thing is that the way that it all played out was that everyone turned their nose at it.
Mm-hmm.
We, at this moment in time, after just 6 months, that's all we do. We've only had to go out there a grand total of 30 times. Work, like collections, like evictions, 30 times over the course of that 6 months. And obviously problems like people dumping off campers in our front yard. And we are currently sitting at a 22+% cap rate with our current loan amount and everything else that we have.
Mm-hmm.
22%.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else turned their nose at this. And the best part is the same thing he's saying. I guarantee you, if we just want to lipstick this thing up some more and just slap it on there, we probably could be walking away selling this for 400 plus. Before everything is said and done. It's absolutely insane how much value has been put into it, but just by having to go out there 30 days in the last 6 months that we've had it.
If we just go out there, finish cutting the grass, kind of making it look a little prettier, and then re-graveling the rest of the parts that haven't been graveled, and then just cover up some of the underpinnings and stuff that's missing from like weed whacking, rocks and stuff kicked out, and then just in general.
Pretty up the roofs so they don't look like they're leaking rust.
Literally, we're talking less than $10,000 worth of repairs, and instantly we would be able to sell this entire property for at least $450, maybe even $500, depending.
Yeah, tenants included and everything else. I'd sell it
Absolute
all, walk
joke.
away.
It's just got. Well, first of all, I know we can because there was a mobile home park that we put an offer in on locally, that sold for $385,000, and it had 6 units. 6. We have right out the gate. We have 12 lots. 11 of which have at least something on it. One is obviously not usable yet, being 122, but we literally have double.
Yep.
And that sold for $385. Now, I admit it was in a better condition, but once again, 6 for $385. We just got to get you the slightly prettier, guaranteed $450, if not more, and it's almost guaranteed we'll get more.
Yeah, that park, at the rate that we're going, I can see in potentially 2.5 on great projections, 5 years guaranteed. That park will be worth $1 million sale price out the gate. I'm willing to guarantee 5 years on that mobile home park now. And it's funny because you guys have seen the condition, you saw what we're getting into, and again, 2.5 potentially, 5 years definitely. It would be $1 million mobile home park before it's done.
And that's effectively what we said. We're going to try to get it up to about $1 million as quick as possible. It's not really that hard. It sounds like a lot of money, but once again, we're already basically at $500,000 now. So we only have to double it. And if you remember, all we got to do from this point on is just finish meeting all the current properties that we have up to code, assuming we just keep them. If not, just scrap them and replace them. And then once we do that, we can get approved because there's already a section available to get approved for a potential 5 to, what was it, 9 more? 5 to 9 more? Something like that? 5 to 11 more?
I think it was a grand total of potentially 23 units, yes.
So between 5 and 11, because there's 12 on there. So if we get 11 more on there, that's double what we literally have. That is mathematically exactly what we already have times 2, which would be $1 million park right there, and just putting in new units there. Let alone the fact that those new units are going to be producing significantly more because they're not going to be as terrible a condition as our previous ones were. So the fact is
or once we start replacing the current ones and then astronomically hiking the rents up on those as well.
And that's the thing too, is that we're already doing remodels now. I mean, let's be real here. We turned what was pretty much a consistent look and quality in terms of the ones that we quote-unquote grandfathered in, where they were all around that 425 rate, and so we turned 118, which is very similar quality to them, and we're getting 650 out of it. If we just do that with the ones that we still have grandfathered, which is like 5 of them, that alone is like an additional $1,000, and then of course that adds into that whole just
Yep.
return amount, and then you can just add that to your sale.
Then also on top of it as well, we have Project $10, as I like to call it, where we sit there, we'll rent out appliances if they don't want to provide their own and everything else like that. Obviously, as we scale that up and we eventually get like a storage facility or whatever else there secured and well maintained, we can have excess appliances there, which that scales up the cost. Because again, imagine if every single unit on top of it, like right now we can have 12 potential units right now, if every single unit is paying $10 a month for just a fridge, or like we'll do 10 just for simple numbers, that's literally $120 right there additional on top of everything else. Then if they start getting stoves or whatever else you want to supply them, then we factor that in as well. That goes right there with the cost, and it doesn't sound like much, but at the end of the year that ends up being almost just barely under $2,000 that you sit there and you get at the end of the year.
And then on top of that too, I mean, for some, obviously we're not going to touch the rental amount, but for like the ones, like example, we did grandfather in, we only did it for the first year just to make sure that everything was good for them while we kind of stabilized the park. One, because we didn't feel like having to find all new tenants, and two, we felt it was fair because they've been living in such poor conditions. Well, now that we're finally getting the park kind of up to par, and the people that we've already renovated, we're going to start raising those rents to an extent of what we feel is equal to that value. So for example, we've been renovating the hell out of 130. Now we've already got it at $600, but if somebody else comes in, we're going to get $650. And then same thing, if we start renovating, like say the one that we got to renovate next, which is 136. Whenever we get 136 up and running, it's going to be in a similar condition to 130, which means if we're getting at least 600 out of it, we're going to get 600 to 650 out of that one. And then same logic. The main thing is that, and I'm not saying we're going to do that right away. We're not going to just up the freaking rent on people $100. But every year, $25 until we get to the part where it feels it's more stable, or at least fair amongst the rest of the community. Because once again, we feel it's fair because they've been there longer and had to deal with more of the problems. But at the same time, it's also not fair to everybody else when they're living in the same quality condition home and yet they're paying less, for example. And it's like, yes, it's unfair to the newer people, and plus it's price discrimination, and you can get a bunch of legal issues with that too. But the thing is that generally
we're fairly covered on this because we're just honoring the originals. But either way, that was honestly, we didn't have to do any of that. We chose to because we felt it was the right choice. Again, Derek and I have talked about multiple times. It actually would have been more profitable for us to do a mass eviction and then replacing every single one of them, because we could have started everything out at 500 plus.
Exactly.
Like that actually would have been the better choice. Didn't feel like the right thing to do. So that's the funny thing too, is that if anybody has a problem with it or wants to argue about us doing $25 a year like price hikes and everything else, you're more than welcome to leave. But again, their increased grandfathered rate is cheaper than any other place around.
They're going from $425 to $450, for example, in the coming year. Where are you going to find a place $450?
Good luck.
You're not.
Yeah, that's all I got.
At least in our area, it's relatively impossible. Other than a room for rent, you're never going to get a full-on apartment, an actual place like a house or a mobile home. It's just not going to happen. So we're still way under the market. I mean, dude, our market alone for a mobile home, even in the terrible conditions they are, I've seen some of them go for $800 in literally just like the next neighborhood over. It is disgusting, the prices that we are way under on. And people thank us every day. We get people, the newest guy we got at 118 literally has been praising the high heavens to us, saying thank you so much for helping me out, because he was living in a motel paying $1,400 or something like that a month, doing the daily rates on that, and we're over here charging $650. And let's be real here, we still feel like the value of some of our mobile homes are not worth their value. Like $650 still seems high to us, but we're like, whatever, people are willing to pay it. And the thing is,
it's not about what you think it's worth. It's about what somebody else is willing to pay for it.
And that's the thing. And either way, we're like, okay, well, it's beneficial for him. It's beneficial for us because he's saving literally half his bill, and we're getting more than we honestly feel it's worth. So we just take that money, we dump it into somebody else, and rinse and repeat. But just in general, the main thing is like to kind of back it all back up to like what we're thinking of memories and whatnot. It's just insane because obviously we've been in business now for I've been in exactly around 4 years and some change. And
I'm literally coming up on my fourth year.
And we've been financially independent before for quite a while. So we don't.
That was fun. Whatever happened to that?
Yeah,
I
anyway.
missed that.
Anyway, so we've been financially independent before. Like, this is literally our job. We do live off of passive income. The thing is, though, is that we've never done it this quickly to this extent and to this size. So, like when he was jokes about our first company, our very first company, we were happy as hell that in the first year we went from an average of negative $5,000 a month to, what was it, $98?
It was exactly $98.
Yeah. So one month we hit $98 and we was just so
right
happy.
Before we hit 1 year of business, our first ever month of getting a profit, and it was $98. And then I'm looking at this one. We've grown. We've learned, because like, obviously we're bringing in $2,000.
Yeah, the big difference between $98 and $2,500. It's quite a big difference. But yeah, so it's just good to see the fruits of your labor ahead of you. Like, obviously the lessons learned. We've we've made a shit ton of mistakes this year. I want to clarify. Yeah, we've made a lot of mistakes. But it's good that we didn't make the same mistakes we made 3.5, 4 years ago. And
again, it really does help when you have two people constantly looking at the same problem and then making decisions based off what they see. Because again, I'm a great short-term thinker. Derek is a great long-term thinker. And it works out perfectly because we can both understand where the other's coming from and what's the best case scenario for us to do at this moment in time. And it does help tremendously, but even with that, it still doesn't matter. You're gonna make mistakes. Like, you're human, and like, again, we gave $2,500 to some cunt to run off with. I mean, come on.
We started the year with no asset in the company, invested and lost like what, a fifth or something like that of the total amount that we had available to us.
Yeah.
Like,
oh well.
That's kind of a hit.
Like, all well, deal with it, move on. Like, a lot of people, what they do is that they beat themselves up too much about it whenever they hit losses. And I understand if all you have in the initial starting is losses. I totally understand you being upset because you haven't had that win. Once you get that win, start replicating that pattern and just do that. That's why it doesn't bother us as much. We didn't get into the position that we're in now with the mentality that we are now because we sat there and it just happened. No, we had to take a lot of losses, but we also got a lot of wins and learned how to replicate that pattern and have been following that pattern ever since. Find what works for you.
Yeah, in fact, we're actually making monthly more than we lost in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, actually, that is funny. That is actually a very good point, yes.
That just shows you the turnaround in 1 year. If we were just depressed and mopey about the losses, we would have never got to a position where we're literally covering that loss every single month.
God, I hope
plus some. So I don't know. It's just crazy.
I hope that fake loan officer is sat there and put in a meat grinder, because it's funny. She's over here scamming people, maybe getting like 1 or 2 scams off in a month, and having to potentially risk like legal liability, like fraudulent suits, as well as like criminal charges against her. And here's Derek and Vlad over here, 2,800. We just sit and do nothing now.
Yep.
Just disgusting. But anyway,
I guess to kind of wrap it up, we'll talk about just what we plan for 2022, and that's pretty much the conclusion. So
the second tax season is done.
Yeah.
Vacation.
We're taking it. We're going to clarify. We haven't taken a legitimate vacation in probably the full 4 years. Like, I mean,
there's a reason. There's a bald spot here. Yeah. Derek started fixing his.
Yeah. So generally speaking, we've taken trips. So like, obviously, we've been to Florida more times than I want to ever go again.
Oh God.
I can't stand Florida. We've been there too many times. But we've been to like Florida, Nevada. We've been to Texas. We went to Dubai at one point. I mean, we've been to a lot of places in the last couple of years for some of the business that we do, but we've never had a full-on break. And this year, this is why we kind of, it's funny. We decided to make this big investment, well, not big investment, big start to the year by making a whole new company, kind of starting fresh, getting the whole, nose to the grindstone kind of thing. And yet, at the same time, we realized at some point halfway through the year, it was like, ironically, like a month after we bought this property, we really are slowing down compared to where we were just 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, or even last year, just because we're at that point of potential burnout. And so we said, to save ourselves the issue of burnout, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Some earlier point next year, like you said, after tax season.
After tax season, because
So-
that's the last burden we have to deal with.
That's also why we didn't really do much these last couple months. If you remember last month or the month before, whatever it was, October, November, we did all of our personal investment crap. We were wrapping up loose ends there, and then now we're wrapping up loose ends here. We finally got everything stabilized. We're not going to over leverage as much for at least the next couple months. We're just kind of
Unless there's a damn good
Let me
deal.
clarify.
I'm always willing to over leverage if there's a 22+% cap rate on the table.
Let me tell you, if another mobile home park, same condition, pops up tomorrow, I'll deal with another 6 months of suffering. I won't even. I'll go freaking bald. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Likelihood of that's not very likely, but once again, keep your eyes open, see if there's an opportunity available and take it.
I just sent you an owner finance quadruplex that I happened to see.
I was gonna send them an offer into it. But that's the thing. You just keep looking. You never know what you'll get.
Yeah, I mean, dude, when he says keep looking, you don't have to put your nose to the grindstone and look. Just go on Facebook, sign up for some of these stupid investor groups like selling houses in your area, blah 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 blah. Wholesalers Are Us Incorporated, unified Facebook group, whatever. Just join one of those. When you get on Facebook to sit there and just check all your notifications in the morning, boom, you got deals popping up in your face. I didn't even have to do anything. I was just doing my normal routine of going through all my social medias. It's right there in front of you. You can't miss it. It's so simple, and I found one that they were offering owner finance. I'm like, well, we do have $2,000 in the bank.
I mean, a lot of people will take $2,000 down on a house, so it's like, all right, well, I guess we can buy another one if we need to.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it really is, it's good to give yourself some time, but unfortunately, we're not going to drive ourselves to an early grave because we know what we're doing, but we are going to drive ourselves to probably complete and total Jeff Bezos level of boldness if we keep doing this.
Oh, definitely. So, to back it up or whatever, so basically the point is we're going to have a slow start next year, most likely. I'm just going to be straight up honest, because one, we got to figure out the taxes, exactly how we have to do them, because this is the first time we've ever had to do it with a C Corp, as well as a different
paperwork.
State. Yeah, because we've never... Once again, we're based out of South Carolina, so we know South Carolina law. We don't know too much of Delaware law. We obviously researched the hell out of it when we started this year. Most of that information I don't remember. So we have to re-research it. But the other thing is, too, is obviously with the file. And the second thing is, too, is we're more in LLCs and trusts. We never really did a C Corp. So we had to figure out that.
Yeah, so that LLC that we have now with the mobile home park, we can handle that.
Yeah, that one's easy.
Because that's literally just a pass-through.
Yeah.
All we have to do is just file pure zeros across the board and then just sending it off from there.
Send it up to Delaware. So that one's not too bad. I mean, we'll have some income tax and whatnot to deal with for personals, but generally speaking, that's not a problem. The issue is just
not with how much we've had to reinvest.
Yeah, well,
we'll see.
Got the amount total. Even if it's negative, they'll still get you on something, capital gains or whatever they'll get you on. So anyway, plus you can't write off the entirety of a house. It's
Give me my sickles.
What is it, 27.5-year depreciating asset?
Yeah, I know.
Anyways, so basically back to the original point. Yeah, so starting off next year, it's going to be a pretty slow year because what we've mentioned many times now. One, we had to pay back a lot of the stuff we over-leveraged from. So we have a lot of credit cards, personal investments, and things like that we got to pay back, as well as if there's any taxes, which probably will be a couple $100 at most. So we'll pay all that stuff back in the first few, as well as property taxes, which is a big thing. So the first 4-ish months, we're predicting around April, we'll be about fully caught up given the rate that we're going. So once that's taken care of, then we're probably just going to go ahead and take a quick vacation once everything's fully wrapped up. So expect April, May, we'll just be literally doing nothing for a good couple weeks. And then after that, once we finally get that refreshed kind of new perspective and outlook and energy, get right back into it and go balls to the wall.
Plus then as well, I know it's going to sound a little weird, but it actually is perfectly well timed because those 3 months, every dollar that we get is just going to be going towards taxes anyway. So we're not going to really be recuperating. Taxes in our debt. So we're not going to be really recuperating anything or retaining anything that we're bringing in on those monthly bases. But then once it kind of gets to around that March range and whatnot, we'll actually start accruing some. We use a little bit to take the vacation. Then by the time we come back in April, we actually should have about roughly $5,000 to go throw with something. don't know what. We'll care about it when we get there, but there'll be something. So yeah.
Yeah. Plus, obviously, once again, like he said, if any deals pop up in between them, we're not going to say no. So, same logic. If another mobile home park popped up, same deal, and it pops up February, March, or even if we were going to take the vacation in May, I'll cancel that vacation. I'll go to 6 months of dealing with this crap all over again. Just the thing is that I care more about longevity than I do about the moment in time here where I had to suffer. I mean, 6 months of suffering for 50 years of peace, I'm totally down for.
And it's funny too because like I was talking about this. With Derek. Like my true goal is that when you have a company and if you're running it right, you don't want to take all the money out of it for yourself. Him and I both subscribe to the 10% principal rule. So basically, whatever profits our company brings in,
keyword profit, not revenue. People always do like, here's my total income from my job. I'm taking whatever percentage of it, and then bills for the rest. No. After bills, what is left over, take that percent.
Like Derek was talking about for the month of December, we made $2,547. You know what pay him and I would get? I would get $250. He would get $250. That's it.
Yes.
The rest, so we would only take out $500, leaving $2,000 still in there. That's what you do. And my goal is that I literally want to be in a position where we're bringing in $50,000 a month, so I can get $5,000 and he can get $5,000 a month. Because at that point, it's going to be very difficult for us to honestly mess up so bad that we completely lose all of that. We might mess up to where we lose a good chunk for a while.
Sure.
But not permanently. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds crazy that I want a person's annual salary on a monthly basis for just the company. But it is very, very doable if you know what you're doing and if you're obviously setting it up. And again, him and I we have experience. You can't trump experience. You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can learn everything you can from us in these videos. Get the experience. Stop wasting your time just listening and learning. Go and do something. Even if you lose the money, take that as a lesson and then do it better next time. That's it. That's all it really takes. Well, that's my little motivational speech for the year. So
honestly, I'm done. We're just gonna enjoy the new year and literally sit on our butts doing nothing for a little while we wait for taxes and bills get paid. Otherwise, we'll keep giving you guys updates every month and let you know if new tenant drama or any new properties or anything come up. But like I said, we're really not going to be doing too much for the next few months.
And since we're late on it, from Metra, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.
Absolutely.
We look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.
Thank you guys.
Peace.
Peace.